What's up, guys? I hope everyone's having an excellent day. My name is Dale Brown. Recently, we started this page called Echoing Theology, and I just wanted to give you a little bit of an introduction of what that page actually is. Um, so, Echo is a program through the University of Notre Dame, and it's a ministry for it's a ministry program for graduate students who are earning a master's in theology from the university. And so myself and several friends across the country are in this program. And in the summers, we basically spend our time in South Bend and we're taking classes, full schedules, having a blast over the summer. And then during the school year, we're either serving in a parish or we're serving in a school. And so what that kind of looks like is going to be different for everybody. And so on this page, more or less, we're just kind of giving an inside look of what that might look like for me, what that looks like for my friends across the country who are in this program. Basically, what we want to do is we want to serve those who are looking at Echo. We want to serve their needs. We want to kind of answer their questions and give them kind of more of an inside look of what Echo kind of looks like from the eyes and ears of those who are actually in the field of Echo. And so Echo's been really just a blast for me. I just kind of want to give you a summary, more or less, of what my experience has been in Echo. On this page, we're going to be interviewing other people, and then also we're going to be interviewing people I know across the country who are not in Echo but do other types of ministry from my home diocese. Um, and other places around the country. So I just wanted to give you more of an introduction of myself, who I am. Um, so again, as I said, my name is Dale Brown. I'm really glad that you're here. I grew up in Maine, and so the great state of Maine is my home, and spent my summers camping, fishing, hiking, canoeing, kayaking, just doing a lot of good stuff. I was in scouts for a long time, got my Eagle Scout at 17. I did a wonderful, really, really good project serving kids in foster homes, serving them backpacks and giving them materials in which they could take to their next home. That way they had some sense of security, more or less. And the big reason why I did that was because that community really holds a very special place in my heart. And so, I spent a lot of my time doing scouting, doing projects, serving other people. I was in Catholic school for a long time and graduated from a Catholic school. And as far as high school goes, and for a long time, I altar served, was on several committees in my parish. I worked a program called Totus Tuus, which I can't wait to talk about. I'm really looking forward to talking with other people who have worked with this program that we know as Totus Tuus. And so just doing a lot of different ministries. I've had a chance to put my hands in a lot of different cookie jars, if you will, on different types of ministries around the church. And I've built many friends through that. Um, I then spent time in my undergrad at Nichols College. It's a small business school in Massachusetts, and I studied sport management there and business. I coached high school football while we were out there. Wonderful time, had a great experience. I love coaching. It's a big part of who I am. I'm probably going to talk about it a lot on this podcast, on this page. Just how coaching influenced me, how athletics, really pushed me into being the person that I am now. Um, so through all of those experiences of coaching, altar serving, uh, really loving theology through high school, through even I remember even elementary school and middle school and high school and into college. When I left to go study business and coaching, I loved that piece of coaching. I loved being a leader to those students, but there was something inside of me that was not satisfied. And I didn't realize it, but I was, I'd always been faithful to the church and things. And Um, I think for a long time, I probably associated myself, just because of how society is and things. And, I really associated myself with being a football guy and being a football coach and a football player and a basketball player, an athlete, right? And I was trying to cover up a lot. And I remember when I got to coaching, I loved coaching, but there was something all 3 seasons that I was doing that was like, okay, there's something more here. And so um, as I developed as a coach, I started getting the sense of, okay, well, what do you really love doing? It's not just football, it's not just coaching, it's being a leader and being a servant to other people. And once I changed that perspective from you need to coach football for the sake of football to helping these young, these boys turn into young men through the sport of football, through a Christ-centric perspective, a lot changed for me. I was a lot more joyful in coaching and just kind of grew in the person that I am now. And so I spent a lot of time in those 3 4 years, right? Because I was coaching in the middle of COVID. Um, I spent a lot of that time searching, kind of asking that question, what's the next thing? You know, and I remember my sophomore year, because again, I was studying business and I wasn't happy with the business piece of things. I'm very, now looking back on it, I'm very grateful that I studied business. I'm very grateful that I went to the school that I went to, met wonderful professors, just really, really solid people, have a lot of friends um, from that institution. And it really kind of showed me what hard work academically meant. Um, and we're going to get there in a few minutes on this video. But um, forgive me for losing my words here. Um, this topic is just very, very important to me. That I think my sophomore, it was my sophomore at the beginning of my junior year. I really can't remember. I think it was the second half of my sophomore year. I went to Indianapolis for a Sikh conference as a student at that time, and I remember hearing in the Adoration Chapel, or what had been converted into an Adoration Chapel, which for those of you that don't know, an Adoration Chapel is where we go and adore the Eucharist, adore adoration. We go sit in front of the Eucharist, which is the true body, blood, soul, and divinity of Jesus Christ. And I remember sitting there, and usually I always do something with my hands. As you can tell, I'm actually talking with my hands, and so I like moving my hands. And when I go pray, I like using a Bible or Liturgy of the Hours book or something of that sort, right? A rosary. And I remember thinking to myself, don't go in with anything this time. And so I didn't. And I remember hearing in the first 3 to 5 minutes were kind of rough because I'm so used to doing stuff. I remember hearing after that, go to seminary. And I said to the Lord, what? And he said, go to seminary. And I got up politely and I did what any normal person would do. I got up, politely left, and I ran over to Lucas Oil Stadium. That's where the Colts play, in case you were wondering of the NFL, the Indianapolis Colts. We love Peyton Manning. We love Andrew Luck. Currently, um, just they're building. Okay, the Colts are rebuilding. Either way, Jonathan Taylor's a good player, and they got a pretty decent quarterback there. So anyway, point being, that's not the point of this story. I remember thinking to myself, okay, well, if I have this motivation to go to seminary and become a man of God and be a servant of God, right? And he might be calling me to be a priest, he may not be. That's okay. And so through that experience, I had to finish up college and then I worked on trucks for a little while, for about a year. After that, I went into seminary and it was a very good year for me, very formative, built really good friendships. I spent time in Emmitsburg, Maryland, at Mount St. Mary's Seminary, a wonderful place. Uh, Again, met really wonderful people. I was so blessed to live like 5 minutes 5 minutes away from where Elizabeth Ann Seton is buried, St. Elizabeth Ann Seton. So once a week, I would go to her basilica and I would just spend time with her, and I would go to mass there once a week. And I really learned what it meant to be a man of God. And I would say, as good of a year as it was and a challenging year as it was, that was, I don't want to call it a conversion because I had already had this real strong faith, but I really found who I was in God. And I think I really saw the Lord's love there. And I remember in January of that year in DC, here was kind of a reversion moment, or a, light bulb going off kind of moment. I remember specifically, I was walking in DC at the March for Life and I was praying a rosary. And I remember thinking to myself, where in scripture it says, the Lord saw everything and it was very good. I was thinking to myself, Lord, if you created me and you created me very good, and you are the creator of all things, and you know what is right, how can I disagree with you that I am already, as a person, how am I to disagree with you that I am approved to the highest degree and approved by you, God? And so if you love me to that extent, I should be able to love myself and to love other people to that extent. Now, of course, with sin and things like that, we struggle, right? Um, but really owning this idea of like, okay, I'm already approved by God, and so why do I need to put all of this pressure on me to find my place in this world through football or through trying to get as much money as I can, or a career or things of this sort. The fact of the matter is that we are already approved to the highest degree by God. That's what very good means, approved to the highest degree. And so I found this out as I was finding theology of the body, which I had always loved John Paul II. Um, Always loved him, always loved reading Carol Watiwa, JP2. And I had read some of his books prior to seminary and things of that sort. And I remember not loving reading, but then I got to seminary and I found a real love for reading. Now, when I'm doing academics, I don't love reading for, fun, but when I'm not doing any academic stuff, I really do enjoy reading. And so I remember reading like 14 or 15 books that year. It was crazy because I hadn't read that many books for fun, in that time. And so through finding uh, theology of or what would I would come to know as theology of the body, really helped me in a lot of ways. I found love and responsibility, and I've read that like 3 or 4 times. That changed my whole perspective on friendships, changed my whole perspective on relationships in general, things of this sort. And so it was very, very freeing for me to find love and responsibility, men, women in the mystery of love. It's when I encountered Matt Fradd's writings, Jason Everett's writings. And so my entire perspective just really kind of changed. And the Lord was freeing me from a lot at that time. And so there was a lot of stuff going on. And so I am extremely grateful to finding that. And so theology of the body has really just changed my life. And the love of theology in general has changed my life. Now, that trajectory, what I was mentioning earlier about Nichols College pushing me to greater heights academically, because academics was an area that I struggled when I was younger in middle school and high school, and there were challenges going on and things. So that really didn't help that helped create a dynamic where it would be challenging. Made it harder for me, of course. And so when I was in elementary school, I remember I always loved the University of Notre Dame. I loved the story of Rudy. I loved just the jerseys. I loved the campus. I mean, University of Our Lady, everything about it. I loved the dome. And so that was a dream for me, was to get to Notre Dame. And so when I was a senior in high school, I had applied to 18 to 21 colleges, 18 or 21 colleges. And I remember getting accepted into four of them. One was my alma mater, Nichols College, go Bison. The other one was a small school in New Hampshire that I knew I didn't want to go to. Another one was a community college in my hometown, which I also didn't want to go to. And then the other one was, we're more or less, I made a wait list for one in Massachusetts and then got into one in West Palm Beach, Florida. And at that time, I knew I wanted to study sport management. I didn't think that theology was my area of expertise, or what I would want to eventually be my area of expertise, and what I wanted to explore through theology. But I had always wanted to go to Notre Dame, or the University of Illinois. It was between those two. And I remember getting the decline letter from the University of Notre Dame, knowingly that that was probably going to be the case. Actually, I was certain that was going to be the case, if I'm being fully honest with you. And so what did I do? I opened the letter, I read it, and then I went out to Walmart, bought a gold frame, and I framed it up in my house. Then went to Nichols College, all of this, and in that time I found my stride academically. I was a better student. I really wanted to study and all these things. Why? Because I wanted to get to Notre Dame, and I thought I needed all of that to get there. Little did I know I had that in me all that time, but I just didn't really know how to express it. And so through Nichols College, that really pushed me into finding myself as a coach, as a teacher, because I also teach high school theology. But that goal of Notre Dame was still there. And it was between that and seminary. And so my decision really came down to, well, which yes do I want to give the Lord first? And so I chose seminary. And that brought me to Mount St. Mary's, where I was still doing fairly well academically and really spending time with the Lord, asking him what he wanted for me. And then I found really that my call was not to the priesthood, and that it was more or less in teaching and then discerning marriage. As I was finding theology of the body and all of these things and truly finding the Lord. And of course, these conversations all happened with my spiritual director and my formation advisor, my bishop, everybody, right? Which I'm very thankful to those people, by the way, because without them, without those conversations and those people holding me accountable, I wouldn't be here. And so I left seminary. I went back home to teach for a year, and then I reapplied to what is now where we're at now, called the ECHO program. Now, the ECHO program is a program through the University of Notre Dame, and which I had mentioned at the very beginning of this, which is a program in which people are earning a master's in theology, because that was still a goal of mine. And it's a scholarship to the university. And so in which you are agreeing to do some type of service for the church in some other place in the country. And so when I applied, I did the interview, everything went well. Funny enough, I made the wait list for the program, and then I got in. So I do have a decline, wait list, and an acceptance letter from the university. And so I do have all of those framed up. We should probably just change the gold one to the acceptance letter. Nonetheless, it's really funny how the Lord kind of works in mysterious ways, because when I thought of going to the University of Notre Dame, I always knew I wanted to go and always knew somehow I was going to get there. But it was my vision that it was going to be on some football or business scholarship or something like that. Not a football scholarship, but academics for business or something of that nature. Because certainly football scholarship I would not have gotten for that university. 4 years later, love theology, find theology, study it, and then this opportunity presents itself. And so coming to full circle again with that is just awesome. And so I have really found my stride here, I think, in Echo. And so one of the gifts that I would like to give to the next Echo class, which is the whole point of making this video, this page, more or less, is introducing them to more of the life in Echo, as well as getting to know the different types of ministry. And so that you know, the different types of ministry that you'll be working in through Echo, because every Echo placement is different. Echo, you have, you know, you live in community, you have a placement, you have a mentor, you know, you're working in different things. I live with two other people down here in Houston, Texas, and we are three very different personalities. You know, one's from New York, one's from Nebraska, and I'm here, you know, from Maine. And so we're all kind of new to the area of Houston. It's really big compared to where we're all from, too, by the way. The the point being is that we're different and we're learning, but we all have different gifts and talents that somehow the Lord put together that we're expected to go serve down in, you know, in Texas. And so, you know, throughout these 2 years, or rather a year and a half now, I'll just be kind of giving you more of an inside look through my own experience of what Echo is, and then also friends from around the country for Echo. Um, we're going to be releasing a video very, very soon, probably after this video releases, an interview with one of my good friends from Knoxville, Tennessee, who is currently also in Echo, named Miranda. She is wonderful and just such a gift to our larger Echo community. And I can't thank her enough for the interview today. So that will be dropping at some point, very, very soon. Like I said, probably within the next day or so. The other set of people I want to interview are friends from around the country who I was in seminary with, or who have, you know, where I've worked in different areas of ministry. I've worked in the Diocese of Portland, Maine, Diocese of Worcester, Massachusetts, down here in Houston, and then also the Archdiocese of Baltimore and Indiana. I've worked in all those dioceses, really wonderful places. And there were so many friendships made in there, and just wonderful gifts. And so there's not a better way that I could, for myself, at least to what's been discussed and thought of, there's not a better way that I could gift the next Echo class than without thanking them or helping them really see the larger picture of what Echo is, right? Because sometimes when we apply to these ministry programs, they're a little vague, and we would like to get some more of an inside scoop of what things are. And so that's kind of how I would like to serve in this capacity. I know that this video is kind of long-winded, and I appreciate your time and sticking with me. This is just a really small snippet of who I am, by the way. You're gonna get to know me more as we go through. I'm just a regular guy too, guys. I love video games. I love spending time with friends. I love hiking, fishing, doing all these things. But you know, the Lord is at the center of all of that, and just such a joy to spend time with Him. I'm so grateful to be born in this time where we have this technology in which I can share my experience with you guys. So yeah, so again, just welcome to Echoing Theology. And you know, like I said, we're going to be interviewing people from Echo, and then also just non-Echo people, but just seeing what the different ministries in the church are. So I really appreciate your time, and know of my prayers. Pope St. John Paul II, pray for us. God bless.